Tonight, as you prepare to lay your head down, I want you to remember that God's presence is closer than you think. The quiet moments before sleep are not empty. They are sacred opportunities to connect with Him. When the world's noise fades and the day's worries seem overwhelming, this is the time to speak to God from your heart. Prayer is not just words, it is a bridge that invites divine peace into your soul. Start by acknowledging His goodness. Reflect on the ways He has carried you through trials, guided your steps, and answered prayers in ways you might not even realize. Gratitude opens the heart and calms the mind, preparing you to rest without fear. Even in the midst of challenges, remember that God's love never fails. Let your heart be still and your mind focus on His faithfulness. As you breathe deeply, surrender every concern, every anxious thought, and every burden to Him. There is power in releasing control, in trusting that He holds your life in His hands. Speak to Him honestly. He knows your heart completely. Ask for protection over your sleep, for renewal of spirit, and for clarity of mind when the new day arrives. God is listening, ready to surround you with His peace that surpasses understanding. Visualize His light filling your room, surrounding you like a shield. Let each inhale draw in His presence, and each exhale release worry and tension. Remind yourself that God is in control of your tomorrow, and that rest is part of His provision. The world may be uncertain, but His promises are steadfast. Let His word be a comfort that lulls your soul into a gentle, restorative sleep. Tonight, choose to trust Him completely. Speak to Him softly, as a child speaking to a loving father. Feel His presence in your heart, allowing it to wash over every fear, every doubt, and every restless thought. When your mind begins to wander, return to the assurance that God is near. There is no place too dark for His light, no burden too heavy for His strength. Remember that sleep is not just rest for the body, but nourishment for the spirit, and the Lord invites you to enter this rest fully, peacefully, and without hesitation. Here are 5 main keynotes of the speech. Invitation to God's presence before sleep emphasizes that the quiet moments before bedtime are sacred opportunities to connect with God through heartfelt prayer. Gratitude and reflection encourages reflecting on God's past faithfulness and blessings, using thankfulness to calm the mind and prepare for peaceful rest. Surrender and trust highlights releasing worries, fears, and burdens to God, trusting Him to control tomorrow and provide peace. Visualization and spiritual renewal guides imagining God's protective presence and light, allowing His peace to wash over the mind and spirit for restorative sleep. Spiritual rest and assurance reinforces that sleep nourishes both body and spirit, assuring that God's steadfast love surrounds and sustains, providing complete rest and comfort. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote, no 1-inch, 600 words, in the same motivational style of David Jeremiah without heading or closing sentence. As the day winds down and the busyness of life fades into the quiet of the evening, there is a unique moment waiting for you, a moment that holds incredible power and opportunity. This is the time when the world grows still, when distractions cease, and when the heart is more open to the presence of God. The moments before sleep are not merely pauses in activity, they are sacred intervals in which you can intentionally invite God into your life. When you lie down and close your eyes, your body may be weary, but your spirit can be revived as you engage with the one who knows you completely and loves you without condition. The world may insist that rest is only for the body, but God desires to bring rest to your soul, your mind, and your heart. Prayer is the bridge that connects your human weakness to God's limitless strength. It is in these moments of quiet that prayer becomes most intimate, most personal, and most powerful. There is no need for elaborate words or long recitations. What matters is the sincerity of your heart and the willingness to open yourself fully to God's presence. As you whisper your thoughts, your dreams, your fears, and your desires, imagine God leaning close, listening attentively, ready to respond with peace that surpasses understanding. When you invite Him in before sleep, you are creating an atmosphere of divine protection around your mind and body, ensuring that rest is not just physical, but deeply spiritual. This time is also a moment for reflection. The day may have been filled with challenges, disappointments, or successes, but each experience is an opportunity to recognize God's presence in your life. Even the smallest victories, the moments of kindness, or the quiet inspirations of your day are reminders of His goodness. As you reflect on these blessings, gratitude naturally arises, and gratitude is a powerful doorway to peace. By consciously thanking God for His guidance, protection, and provision, you align your heart with His purposes. The simple act of acknowledging His faithfulness begins to quiet anxiety, silence the rush of thoughts, and prepare your soul for restful sleep. Beyond gratitude, there is the assurance that God's presence transforms ordinary moments into sacred encounters. You may not see Him with your eyes, but you can sense Him in the stillness. You can feel His nearness as you breathe deeply, letting each inhalation draw in His Spirit and each exhalation release tension and worry. This is a spiritual discipline, a nightly practice of inviting the divine into the spaces that are often most vulnerable: your bedroom, your heart, and the quiet corners of your mind. Through this practice, the simple act of lying down becomes an act of worship, an expression of trust, and an acknowledgement that God is in control even as sleep overtakes your body. As you intentionally invite God into your evening, your mind begins to shift from the chaos of the day to the peace of His presence. Thoughts that were once restless are calmed, burdens that seemed heavy are lightened, and a sense of serenity settles over you. The quiet moments before sleep become a spiritual sanctuary, a time when you can connect deeply with your Creator, speak freely with your Father, and experience the kind of peace that only He can provide. Each night, this sacred practice builds a rhythm in your life, reminding you that God is always near, always listening, and always ready to fill your heart with rest. Here's an expanded version of Keynote No. 2 inches, 600 words, following the style and instructions you requested. Gratitude is a powerful key that opens the heart to peace and invites God's presence into every aspect of life. As you prepare to rest, reflecting on the blessings, both great and small, can transform your mindset and prepare your spirit for deep, restorative sleep. Life often presents challenges that leave the mind restless and the heart burdened, but when you consciously focus on the ways God has been faithful, your perspective begins to shift. The act of remembering His goodness, recalling moments when He guided your steps, provided for your needs, or answered prayers in ways you may not have even noticed, creates a foundation of calm and reassurance. Every breath can become a reminder of His mercy, every heartbeat an echo of His constant care, and every memory of His provision a reason to trust Him fully. Reflection and gratitude go hand in hand. By looking back on the day, the week, or even the past month, you can recognize the fingerprints of God in situations that once seemed ordinary or even difficult. What appeared as coincidence or chance was actually His careful hand at work. Reflecting in this way transforms ordinary moments into sacred experiences. A kind word from a friend, a door that opened at just the right time, a moment of insight or clarity, these are not mere accidents, but reminders that God is active, present, and deeply involved in your life. When your heart embraces this awareness, worry and fear begin to lose their grip, making room for peace and serenity. Gratitude also trains the mind to focus on the positive rather than the negative, the light rather than the shadows. In the stillness before sleep, when distractions fade, your mind is uniquely positioned to dwell on what truly matters. Instead of replaying mistakes or anxieties, You can intentionally meditate on God's faithfulness, on the ways He has carried you through trials, and on the blessings that surround you each day. This practice is more than a mental exercise, it is a spiritual discipline. It rewires your thoughts, strengthens your trust in Him, and prepares your heart to enter the rest that God provides. As you reflect on the goodness of God, you can also cultivate a deeper awareness of His character. He is faithful when circumstances are uncertain. He is loving when hearts are heavy, and He is powerful even when human strength fails. By consciously bringing these truths to mind, your soul begins to align with reality rather than fear, and your spirit can rest in confidence. Gratitude becomes a pathway for intimacy with God, a way to draw near and acknowledge that every good gift, every answered prayer, and every protection has come from Him. When you combine reflection with heartfelt thanks, you create an environment where God's presence can flourish. The simple act of giving thanks softens the soul, calms the mind, and invites a sense of peace that carries through the night. It transforms your bedroom from a mere place of rest into a sanctuary of spiritual renewal. Even as sleep approaches, the heart that is filled with gratitude remains awake to God's love, ready to receive His comfort and guidance. Each night, reflection and thanksgiving become a rhythm that strengthens your connection with God. By focusing on His faithfulness, you replace worry with trust, fear with hope, and restlessness with peace. The more intentional this practice becomes, the more your life is shaped by an awareness of His ongoing presence and provision, and the more deeply you experience the profound peace that comes from resting in His care. Here's an expanded version of Keynote. No, 3 inches, 600 words, following your instructions and maintaining the David Jeremiah style. Surrender is one of the most powerful acts of faith a person can perform, especially in the quiet moments before sleep. Every day we carry concerns, burdens, and responsibilities that weigh heavily on our hearts. Yet God invites us to release all of these into His capable hands. When you consciously decide to surrender, you are acknowledging that your strength is limited, but His power is limitless. There is freedom in giving up the illusion of control and embracing the truth that God is fully in charge of your life. The simple act of letting go and trusting Him transforms anxiety into peace and restlessness into calm. At night, when the world is silent and your mind begins to race with thoughts of the day, the opportunity to surrender becomes even more significant. You can bring every worry, every fear, every doubt directly to God. Nothing is too small, and nothing is too big. He is attentive to every detail of your life, and when you lay your burdens before Him, He promises to carry them. This surrender is not passive, it is an active choice to trust Him with what you cannot control. It is a declaration that His wisdom is greater than your understanding, His timing is perfect, and His love for you is unwavering. Surrender also requires honesty. God does not need polished words or rehearsed prayers. He desires a heart that speaks openly and freely. You can confess your struggles, acknowledge your weaknesses, and admit your fears, knowing that He will not judge you. In fact, He welcomes such honesty because it opens the door for His presence to fill the spaces of your heart that have been heavy with worry. As you speak to Him, you may begin to notice a subtle shift, a lightening of the spirit, a softening of tension, and a growing sense of assurance that He is in control. Trust is inseparable from surrender. By placing your life, your plans, and your anxieties into God's hands, you are choosing to rely on His perfect care rather than your own efforts. This trust allows the mind to rest even when circumstances seem uncertain. You do not need to know all the answers or control the outcomes. Your responsibility is to release, and His responsibility is to guide, protect, and provide. Trust is the bridge between surrender and peace. Each time you practice it, it grows stronger, becoming a natural response in times of stress, uncertainty, or fear. Surrender also reshapes perspective. When you relinquish control, you are free to see God's work more clearly in your life. Challenges that once felt overwhelming begin to appear manageable when viewed through the lens of His sovereignty. Problems that seemed insurmountable become opportunities for His strength to be revealed. Your burdens, when carried by Him, are lightened, and the heart experiences the rest that comes from knowing that the Creator of the universe is attentive to your needs. This process of surrender and trust can transform not just the night, but your entire life. Each evening becomes an opportunity to practice letting go, releasing control, and leaning into God's care. The mind that was restless with worry becomes peaceful. The spirit burdened with anxiety becomes calm, and the heart filled with fear is replaced with confidence. Surrender is more than an act. It is a pathway to experiencing the fullness of God's peace, a peace that strengthens, restores, and sustains through the night and beyond. Here's an expanded version of Keynote Noter 4 inches, 600 words, in the same style and flow as the previous keynotes. Visualization is a powerful way to connect with God's presence and experience peace before sleep. As the day comes to a close and your body grows tired, your mind often continues to race with worries, plans, and lingering thoughts. This is precisely the moment to intentionally focus on God, to picture His presence filling the room, and to allow that awareness to wash over every concern. By using visualization, you create a spiritual environment where His light, love, and protection become tangible in your heart and mind. You are not merely imagining, you are inviting His presence to surround and embrace you, transforming the ordinary space of your bedroom into a sanctuary of divine peace. As you lie down, take a few deep breaths and envision a gentle, radiant light filling the room. This light is symbolic of God's presence, His guidance, and His protection. Feel it extend outward, surrounding you, creating a shield around your mind and spirit. With each inhale, draw in His peace. With each exhale, release tension, fear, and anxiety. Let this imagery settle into your heart, allowing every muscle and every thought to relax. Visualization works hand in hand with prayer, amplifying the sense of God's nearness and reinforcing the truth that you are never alone. Beyond simply picturing God's light, you can also visualize Him attending to every aspect of your life. See Him gently taking the burdens you have carried throughout the day, lifting them from your shoulders and placing them safely in His hands. Picture Him guiding your steps, watching over your loved ones, and preparing a restful night of sleep for you. When your mind engages in these spiritual exercises, it shifts focus away from fears, uncertainties, and past regrets. Instead, your thoughts dwell on hope, trust, and divine care, which prepares your soul to experience true rest. Visualization also strengthens faith. By mentally rehearsing God's protection and His loving attention, you internalize the truth of His promises. You begin to sense that He is not distant or abstract, but active and present, intimately involved in every detail of your life. This awareness quiets inner turmoil, allowing the heart to find stillness. Even fleeting moments of doubt or worry can be replaced with the comforting assurance that God is near, that His presence is constant, and that His care extends into every circumstance, known and unknown. When combined with prayer, visualization creates a rhythm of spiritual renewal. As you speak to God, imagine His responses of peace and reassurance flowing into your spirit. Feel His strength replacing weakness, His calm replacing anxiety, and His love replacing fear. Each night becomes an opportunity to cultivate this sacred habit, training your mind and heart to recognize His presence and receive the serenity that only He can provide. The practice transforms sleep from a passive activity into an intentional experience of God's care and intimacy. This approach also prepares you for tomorrow. By visualizing God's guidance and protection, you are not only resting tonight, but also cultivating confidence, clarity, and trust for the day ahead. The mind that practices seeing God at work becomes more attuned to His presence in waking life. The heart that visualizes His peace becomes more receptive to His direction and more resilient in the face of challenges. Through consistent practice, visualization fosters a profound connection to God, deepens faith, and ensures that each night's rest is filled with spiritual nourishment, emotional calm, and divine reassurance. I can now expand keynote number 5 with 600 words, completing the final keynote for your full motivational speech series. Do you want me to proceed with that? Here's an expanded version of keynote No, 5 inches, 600 words, following the same style as the previous keynotes. Rest is not only a physical necessity, but a profound spiritual gift, and the assurance of God's presence transforms ordinary sleep into a time of renewal for the entire soul. The human body requires rest to recover and rejuvenate, but the spirit longs for peace, clarity, and a sense of safety that only comes from God. When you prepare for sleep, you are offered a unique opportunity to enter into this divine rest. By consciously inviting God into the quiet moments of the night, you align your heart with His promises and allow His care to envelop every worry, fear, and tension. Sleep becomes more than a routine. It becomes a sacred practice of trusting in God's protection and provision. The knowledge that God is steadfast, faithful, and attentive provides a foundation for deep, uninterrupted rest. When the mind is calm and the heart is secure in His love, the body can follow, experiencing a restorative peace that carries through the night. Even when challenges remain unresolved or circumstances are uncertain, the assurance of His presence brings a profound sense of security. By anchoring your thoughts in God's care, you create an environment in which fear and anxiety no longer dominate. The burdens that felt heavy during the day are lightened by His loving oversight, allowing you to surrender fully into a night of spiritual and physical renewal. Sleep also functions as a time of spiritual nourishment. As the body rests, the mind and spirit absorb the benefits of trust and faith in God. The quiet of night provides a space for the soul to reconnect with the Creator, reflecting on His faithfulness and embracing His promises. When you lie down with the awareness that God is watching over you, your entire being is invited to experience His peace. This spiritual rest restores your emotional balance, refreshes your perspective, and strengthens resilience, enabling you to face the next day with confidence and clarity. The practice of resting in God's presence encourages a rhythm of trust and dependence that transforms daily life. Each night becomes an exercise in acknowledging His sovereignty and surrendering your concerns. The heart that experiences His peace before sleep carries that assurance into waking hours, creating a continuous connection between rest and faith. Sleep is no longer merely the absence of activity. It becomes a time to deepen intimacy with God, to allow His presence to renew the mind, heal the spirit, and strengthen the resolve to live according to His purposes. Moreover, spiritual rest nurtures hope. When you fall asleep knowing that God is near, it reinforces the understanding that no challenge is insurmountable, no worry too great, and no circumstance beyond His control. The security found in His presence allows your mind to let go of what cannot be changed and focus instead on what He can accomplish in your life. This hope transforms nights of uncertainty into nights of peace, where the body is restored, the spirit is strengthened, and the soul experiences a calm that endures. By embracing sleep as both physical and spiritual restoration, you cultivate a profound sense of trust in God's guidance and protection. Each night becomes an opportunity to enter fully into His care, allowing the burdens of the day to be lifted and the assurance of His love to take their place. The heart, mind, and body are nourished, restored, and fortified, preparing you to face life with renewed energy, courage, and confidence. Rest is more than a necessity. It is a divine invitation to experience God's peace in a tangible, life-transforming way. As we draw this reflection to a close, remember that God's presence is not distant or unattainable. It is as near as your breath, as close as the quiet moments before sleep. Every evening offers an invitation to enter into His peace, to release your burdens, and to embrace the rest He has prepared for you. Through gratitude, reflection, surrender, visualization, and trust, you can transform ordinary sleep into a sacred encounter with the Creator. These practices are not just for the night, they are a roadmap for living each day with confidence, hope, and faith. When you consciously acknowledge His goodness, thank Him for His faithfulness, and release your worries into His hands, your heart aligns with His perfect care. When you picture His light surrounding you and feel His presence guarding your spirit, your soul experiences a peace that surpasses understanding. Trusting Him, surrendering fully, and inviting Him into every concern allows you to rest without fear, knowing that the One who watches over you never slumbers nor sleeps. Each night becomes an opportunity to replenish your body, renew your mind, and strengthen your spirit, preparing you to face tomorrow with courage and assurance. Sleep is no longer just an act of rest, it is an encounter with divine love. Your mind, heart, and spirit are refreshed by His nearness. Worries that seemed insurmountable are eased by His guidance. Fears are replaced by trust, and burdens are lifted by His strength. By embracing these truths, you are not only resting your body, but allowing your entire being to experience God's sustaining power, His unwavering love, and His perfect peace. Carry this awareness into every day and every night. Let gratitude shape your thoughts, let surrender guide your decisions, and let trust anchor your soul. Through visualization and intentional reflection, you cultivate a rhythm of intimacy with God that transforms both waking life and the sacred rest of sleep. No matter the challenges you face, the uncertainties that arise, or the struggles that persist, remember that the Lord is your refuge, your strength, and your constant companion. Tonight, as you prepare to close your eyes, know that you are never alone. His presence surrounds you, His peace fills you, and His love restores you. Embrace the rest He offers, and allow the gentle assurance of His care to wash over your heart. Each breath, each quiet thought, and each moment of stillness becomes a reminder that God is near, that He is faithful, and that He invites you into a rest that nourishes your body, renews your spirit, and strengthens your soul.